So what's funny is, starting off this video, it would have a negative context, right? The two worst contracts on Bengals roster. But it's actually funny here because it's actually counterintuitive. It's actually a positive because you look at these two worst contracts we're going to talk about today, and you see how amazing the Bengals as a franchise they run their team, where they work out contracts that one help out the player, but also help them out and does not destroy them. You compare that to, for example, the Cleveland Clowns, where their player, prison inmate number 4, is going to cost them $75 million against the cap next year and $75 million against the cap the year after that. Imagine that. And they're negative $59 million in cap. They're negative $59 million next year. So, again, although this video would seem negative because these are two awful contracts, on these other poorly run teams, this would be a walk in the park and they would love to have these problems. Let's go ahead and talk about it. So, the two worst contracts for the Cincinnati Bengals. Number 1, La'el Collins. Collins signed a 3-year, $21 million deal in the offseason of 2022. And while the deal isn't crazy by any means, Collins is a $9.3 million cap hit in 2023, and he probably won't even be the starter. Now, the reason why he won't be a starter is because of injury, but again, it's very possible, based on his own words, he could be back by week 1. And if he put a brace on his ankle, he could go out there today and play. Now, based on what I've heard from doctors, they say that it's possible he starts on the PUP list and he does not play till week 6. Now, if he is fully healthy by week 6 and he plays the remaining 13 games of the season and he is pretty okay, so it's consistent, this is actually not that bad for $9.3 million, especially if he is, healthy. Because if he's 100% and he is at the top of his game, that's going to give us the trip to the Super Bowl, right? Because at the end of the day, yes, we want him to be healthy the first 6 weeks of the season, right? Absolutely. But what's the biggest problem last year? Staying healthy when you get to the playoffs. That's the most important thing. Yes, you know what? I want every player to be healthy the whole season. But if you're healthy in the beginning, but not in the end, that's when things start going downhill, especially at the right tackle position. In a way, this is a hidden blessing. Because now what we get to see is, first off, how good is Jonah Williams, right? How good is Jackson Carman? And how good is Cody Ford? We get to see how good these guys are. Because if something did happen in the playoffs down the line, or, again, it's possible here, if they go ahead and, Jonah just plays amazing and he's lights out, or Jackson Carman plays amazing, he's lights out, we could trade Collins and save the money. So it's not really that bad of a deal in the end here, because we have kind of a way of a win-win here. He's not out there. Okay, we see what the other guys are. The other guys sucked. Okay, Collins comes back week 6. We have 13 games plus the playoffs with Collins to be the starter. If Collins does, let's say he comes back, but the other guys are good, trade Collins, get a 3rd-round pick. Kind of works out. Definitely does. And again, yes, we did have to pay him for the last year, which obviously, at the end of the day, we needed the right tackle. We needed somebody. And we got somebody who maybe isn't the greatest, but he definitely is pretty better than what we had. I mean, do you want to keep him out there at right tackle? So, while this, yes, is definitely at the end of the day, when you really look into it, it's like, well, this is a cap hit we don't need. It works out in the end. It definitely works out in the end. So, let's see the second worst contract. And I have an idea on where it's going to go. It's going to go to Jonah Williams. I say I have an idea, but it's like, this is like the number 1. And this is funny because the worst thing about this is we picked up a 5th-year option. But we had to. There wasn't even a, well, maybe, no, we had to pick up the 5th-year option. we needed the left tackle, and Orlando Brown wasn't on the team when we picked up the left tackle. We picked up Jonah's fifth-year option. He was a first-round draft pick. So you can't really, fault us for that. But then again, again, as I said before, it's all hitting blessing. We pick it up, and now look, we need a right tackle. Collins is hurt. Still, we need a right tackle. So it's funny how this Lee posted this article about these two being the worst two contracts, because these two contracts is what's making this so amazing. Like, these two contracts is what actually works out in the end, because in the end here, right, if we wanted to, we could trade Jonah Williams before the end of the season and save money before the trade deadline. We could trade Collins before the trade deadline and save money. So, in all honesty, or we could keep both and then, have depth for the, playoffs. But what this does is it gives us a solid right tackle in the end. And at the end of the day, what would you put a price tag on to have a playoff game, let's say, going back to last year AFC Championship game, right? At Bengals Chiefs. What's the price tag you would put if you had a healthy right tackle, a star right tackle, and a star left tackle? What's the price tag for that? I know these guys aren't technically stars, but what would you, let's say, above average right tackle and a star left tackle? There's no price tag you would put on that. Because if we had that, we would be playing Philly the next week. Right? So, I don't really think, again, these contracts was just funny because any other poorly run team, the Cardinals, the Cardinals, the Clowns. That's all I have to. There's any poorly run team would look at these contracts and be like, what? These are considered bad contracts? Have you seen what we've done with our contracts? Sign whoever you have on our team because these are pretty dang good contracts. Yeah, no, at the end of the day, like I said before, I always find this funny because, when I thought about making a video, I'm like, this could be a negative context video. But it's not negative at all. It's actually a positive. It's a hidden blessing in the end from how amazing this team is run by this organization. And again, this is why this team's going to be a Super Bowl team. They're going to win a Super Bowl. I'd say probably 3 or 4 Super Bowls. And then we can finally start talking about, wait. I can't say anything about the Chiefs. Sure. We can finally understand that Joe Burrow is number 1 and Pat Who is number 2. I didn't say his name. I said Pat Who. Pat Who? I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.